I find it hard to believe that there are faith communities that would not be involved in ending the death penalty. When Jesus' teaching is so clear that we are to love our enemies, how can faith communities say that there's any way in which this serves justice? It's a vengeful act. And we are not, as Christians, a vengeful people. We are a people of reconciliation. We are people of love. And that means that we love the victim, but we also, that everyone is a victim when there's a capital crime. And we need to keep that in mind. The baptismal covenant in the Episcopal Church calls for us to respect the dignity of every human being. It doesn't say respect the dignity of human beings that you think have done right or wrong, but every human being. And so we need to, with God's help, live up to that standard as a church and speak out. My research showed that since 1958, the Episcopal Church has had resolutions passed at its national convention to end the death penalty. I've always been opposed to the death penalty. There's never been a question in my mind that that is not a way to carry out justice. I think that the thing that really spurred me to become involved in the movement to end the death penalty in Ohio is when I started to read about the drug companies not even being willing to provide the drugs that they're using for lethal injections. That if the drug companies who are going to make money from this activity are saying no to it, then it's time that the state say no to it as well. As a church, we are called to speak out on matters of justice and faith. And as leaders of churches and of the church, we are called to be the representatives that say when society is taking the wrong path. We are citizens of a realm, a kingdom that is different from the kingdom of this world. And we need to speak as representatives of God's realm. Well, I've been active in going to the state legislature and supporting efforts in the state legislature to repeal the death penalty. And I'm anxious to hear the results of the task force, and will follow that very closely and educate my congregation on that task force's findings. And then I really encourage other faith leaders to become involved. It's something that we just need to be courageous enough to do. Well, the number one thing we can do is become more involved in Ohioans to stop executions, to learn the facts of what the task force is going to be saying, and then how to interpret that to people who are sitting in our pews on Sunday mornings. We can be active citizens and speak out against injustice, speak out on behalf of the dignity of every human being, and bring the conversation to the people among whom we minister. But I see something that is moral as contributing to the common good in terms of this sort of issue, that there has to be a positive outcome that is something that adds value to society. And there's nothing that I can find in putting someone to death under any circumstances that is morally right, that adds value to society. The death penalty takes the life of a human being. And Jesus taught that we are to love our enemies, that we are to be a reconciling community, not a community that metes out revenge where justice is called for.